For millennia, the story has echoed across time. A cataclysmic flood, a divine decree, and a hero chosen to save all life in a colossal vessel. The tale of Noah's Ark is one of the foundational myths of Western civilization, a cornerstone of the book of Genesis. It is an image burned into our collective consciousness, a massive, rectangular ship floating on an endless, churning sea. But what if the iconic ark you picture is wrong? What if the earliest version of this very survival story, unearthed from the silent sands of ancient Mesopotamia, describes a vessel that was not a magnificent ship, nor a rectangular barge, but a giant woven basket? The narrative we know is not the beginning. It is the final, refined chapter of a story far older, one that stretches back to the very dawn of written history, to the cradle of civilization between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This is the true, hidden history of the Great Flood. This is the pre-biblical origin of Noah's Ark. Where the gods were capricious, the ark was round. And the moral of the story was a bitter condemnation of the heavens themselves. We are diving into the cuneiform tablets, the fragmented epics, and the deep theological reworkings that transformed a Babylonian horror story into a powerful covenant. The evidence lies etched into the clay itself. In 2014, the Assyriologist Dr. Irving Finkel translated one of the most remarkable archaeological finds of our age, the Ark Tablet. Dating to between 1900 and 1700 BCE, centuries before the earliest possible composition of Genesis. This small piece of baked clay told a hauntingly familiar story of a massive flood and a man chosen to survive it. This hero, however, was not Noah. His name was Atra-Hasis, meaning the exceedingly wise, and the ark he was instructed to build was radically different. The divine command was explicit. Draw out the boat that you will make on a circular plan. Let her length and breadth be equal. A massive coracle. Imagine it. A boat that is essentially a colossal floating basket, made of twisted reeds and coiled rope, then waterproofed with layers of natural bitumen. It's a design directly inspired by the common, highly buoyant kufa, or coracle used for thousands of years on the marshy Mesopotamian rivers. The Ark Tablet's instruction makes perfect, pragmatic sense to its original Babylonian audience. A coracle is difficult to steer, yes, but it's deep. Round structure makes it almost impossible to capsize. For surviving a raging, unpredictable global deluge, a giant, buoyant tub that merely bobs is arguably the superior design. This is our first critical difference. The rectangular, navigably shaped Teba Ark of Genesis is a later development. The original vessel was a circular coracle, but the divergences run far deeper than mere naval architecture. They touch the very nature of divinity and justice. And here, at this crucial point of difference, we ask you to join us on this journey into the mysteries of the past. If you seek knowledge that lies beneath the surface of familiar stories, tap the subscribe button now and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the deep secrets we'll reveal next. To understand the biblical retelling, we must first confront the gods of the Akkadian, Sumerian, and Babylonian myths. In the Mesopotamian accounts, the flood is not an act of righteous justice. It is a display of capricious divine tyranny. The three major pre-biblical accounts, the Sumerian flood story featuring Zayusidra, he of long life, the Atra-Hasis epic, and the Epic of Gilgamesh featuring Utnapishtim, he found life, all share a common, chilling motivation for the destruction of mankind. In the Atra-Hasis epic, the villain is the chief god Enlil. Humanity has multiplied, and its burgeoning population is making too much noise. The noise of mankind has become too intense for me. With their uproar, I am deprived of sleep. Think about that. An entire civilization wiped out simply because its collective sound was an annoyance to an insomniac deity. This is not a moral culling. It's an over-the-top divine temper tantrum. Enlil tries plagues, then famine, but the benevolent water god, Enki, Ea in later versions, thwarts him each time, secretly advising his servant, Atra-Hasis, on how to survive. Finally, Enlil decrees the Great Flood, an act so extreme that even the other gods weep. The creator goddess, Nintu, laments, "How could I keep silent when they ordered annihilation?" The Mesopotamian stories are, in essence, a theological critique. They condemn the gods for being petty, wasteful, and self-serving. When Atra-Hasis and Utnapishtim finally sacrificed after the flood, the starving gods gathered like flies around the offering, desperate for the food and libations they had just eliminated by destroying their worshippers. This scene perfectly illustrates the moral. The gods only jeopardized their own livelihood in destroying their human sources of support. They were not holy they were hungry. Now we turn to the genius of the biblical scribes, the writers of Genesis, who took this powerful, shared cultural tradition and completely inverted its moral compass. The Genesis flood narrative, generally dated around the 5th century BC and believed to be a composite of the older Yahwist and Priestly sources, retains the vivid plot points of its Babylonian predecessors, particularly the Epic of Gilgamesh, the bitumen waterproofing, the multiple decks, the ark settling on a mountain, the release of birds, a raven and a dove, and the hero offering a post-flood sacrifice. All are present. However, the change in the nature of God fundamentally alters everything. The problem of justice. In Genesis, there is no cabal of warring gods. There's only a single all-powerful deity. Therefore, the singular God of Israel must be responsible for both the destruction and the salvation. He cannot be capricious. The motivation for the flood is thus entirely shifted from divine annoyance to human immorality. The Lord saw that the wickedness of humans was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. The flood is now a deserved punishment, a necessary judicial cleansing of an irreversibly corrupt world. The hero, Noah, is saved not through the secret machinations of a sympathetic God, but because Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord through his singular righteousness. This is the new profound moral. God is operating with clear, ethical standards of justice, not whimsy, life and longevity. Another crucial contrast is the attitude toward humanity's proliferation. In Gilgamesh, the gods plot to limit human population growth. In Genesis, the very first command to the saved hero is the original mandate of creation: be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The flood narrative is now framed as a reaffirmation of life, not a reluctant culling. This theological editing served a powerful purpose for the exiled Israelites who were writing and refining this text in Babylon. They were surrounded by the very cultures that told the stories of Atra-Hasis and Utnapishtim. By adapting the familiar, powerful flood myth, they were asserting the superiority of their own faith, a faith in a single just and moral God who punishes evil but offers covenant and life. If you find this journey into the original sources of faith as thrilling as we do, please take a moment to hit that like button. It tells us to keep digging deeper into the myths and history that shaped our world. And while you're there, let's solidify this community of seekers. If you have not yet, now is the time to subscribe and join our inner circle, the enduring legacy of the myth. When we step back and view these narratives side by side, the Sumerian, the Babylonian, and the Hebrew, we are witnessing something extraordinary. The most successful example of cultural transmission and theological re-engineering in human history. The dimensions of belief. Even the Ark's dimensions carry a trace of the older stories. The Ark of Atra-Hasis and Utnapishtim are described as having a total area of about 14,400 square cubits. Noah's rectangular ark, though defined by different dimensions, 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high, has a total surface area that rounds up to 15,000 square cubits. The authors of Genesis, while changing the shape to fit their own understanding of a viable large vessel, perhaps inspired by the tubu, a known rectangular river barge, subtly maintained the scale of the Babylonian original. But the most compelling and familiar point of overlap lies in a single devastating detail: the animals. The Atra-Hasis epic describes the animals entering the ark in pairs, stating, "But the wild animals from the steppe, 2 by 2, they enter the Arkansas. This core element, 2 by 2, is a line so powerful it was carried across empires and millennia, surviving the shift from polytheism to monotheism, from cuneiform to Hebrew scripture. The flood myth was a wide-ranging tradition that was shared and reworked again and again by ancient Near Eastern cultures over the centuries. It's a testament to the universal themes it contains: survival against impossible odds, the nature of divinity, and the struggle between good and evil. The final transformation. The Epic of Gilgamesh ends with Utnapishtim being granted a bitter immortality by the gods, a unique, almost lonely prize. The book of Genesis ends with God's covenant, the promise of the rainbow not just to Noah, but to all of humanity and all living creatures. It's a promise that the order of creation will never again be undone by a flood. The biblical authors did not simply copy the story. They redeemed it. They took a terrifying narrative of a world destroyed by God's lack of sleep and transformed it into a majestic drama of divine righteousness, human accountability, and ultimate, unwavering grace. It is a profound and lasting transformation that offers us a new perspective on a familiar story. By understanding the coracle of Atra-Hasis, we can truly appreciate the magnitude of the covenant given to Noah. We hope this deep dive into the pre-biblical origins of the Great Flood has enriched your understanding of this foundational myth. Our mission is to continue to explore these epic, untold histories. If you are captivated by these connections between the ancient world and the present, we invite you to be part of our growing community. Hit that subscribe button now to ensure you don't miss our next chapter in the mysteries of history. Thank you for watching, and may your path always be one of light and wisdom.